Hey guys, welcome to another Six Sages Gaming Deck Spotlight, and today we have for you a budget brew. Over the next couple weeks, as we've been perhaps falling a little bit behind in the videos because of holiday and Matt's been sick, what have you, we haven't had a lot of time to do duel series, so what we're going to do is take a step back. We're still going to record this duel series. We're recording quite a few tomorrow night, and we're going to look at the different budget options. Now, I asked in the Facebook group, and if you're not in that group yet, it's Final Fantasy TCG-US, that, you know, what is budget to you? Now, hopefully people have their starters. If not, starter cards can be a little hard to find, so I didn't really want to include those, but I did include two here, so I'm sorry about that if you're not able to get your hands on it. But what we agreed on is that its deck is going to consist of mostly commons and rares, and then it's going to have, at a max, 2 playsets, so 3 and 3, of hero-based cards. So those are going to be a little bit more expensive. Now, they're still going to be under $10 each, so ultimately this deck is probably going to be under $70. I don't know the prices for these offhand, and again, ignore the foil joke that I'm sure someone's going to make in the comments, but I really wanted to take the opportunity to make a more budget-friendly deck to get people into the game, to say, hey, if I went on, let's say, Magic Madhouse right now, and the UK is going to have a restock soon, I could buy this entire deck probably on the spot. Or very easily, if you join the Final Fantasy TCG Marketplace Facebook group, you're going to be able to find these cards very, very easily. And commons, you know, people will charge like $1 per common, 50 cents. Hopefully, they should only be 50 cents. And, you know, $1 per rare. So it's really not going to cost you much to do this. So look forward to a lot more budget brews that are going to be coming. As a small note, mono was very difficult to build, so all the budget brews going forward will be dual colors. And again, I'm going to include very few starter cards strictly because those can be a little bit more difficult to come by. So first, we're going to talk about the forwards, and then we're going to get into the summons, and then wrap it up with the backups. So let's get right into this Dragoon Rush Mono Lightning Budget Brew. Starting with our forwards, we have Kate Sith. Now, if you watch any of our other videos or any other decks that I've played Lightning, really not a lot needs to be said about this card. It's a 1-drop that's an EX Burst, and the EX Burst allows this card to be both used offensively and defensively. Sometimes it can save you a point of damage when you EX Burst it, and otherwise it's a very cheap way to remove a blocker that you might have an issue with to get in points of damage. So when we're considering a monocolor deck, or even if I'm building an aggro-based deck that wants to get in points of damage, Kate Sith should just certainly be a 3 of, because it is just so good. And now we're going to be getting into some more interesting choices that you might not have seen in other deck profiles, or you might not see in decks otherwise. So we have Zalbog, I believe is how you pronounce it. Enters the field, choose 1 forward of cost 2, and break it. Now, the important thing is we don't have, it has to be exactly 2. We don't have a 2-drop, so if it comes into play and it can do nothing. But I thought this is an important card because if you're playing against like a Tifa or an Onion Knight, or even cards as we see maybe Opus 2 and Opus 3, there's going to be more 2-drops down the road. So this is one of those cards that it may not hit a lot right now, but it is still an early play. And if you happen to be going up against, let's say, the Tifa decks, it's a very, very nice answer to their turn 1 Tifa, or maybe turn 2, what have you, because you get to kill their guy for free, and then you have an upwards of 6k body, which is really nice based on a backup you'll see later. So it has utility. Again, it doesn't have a special, so we can't discard extra copies except for crystal points, so 3 doesn't really do a lot for us, but I definitely think it does have some utility to warrant it in the deck. Up next, we have Ramza. Now, we do play the 4-drop Ramza, so I will say that this is mostly for special fodder in terms of her effect not doing a ton, but as you'll see later, and I'll just put it on camera, get the card real quick, we do play another backup called Maki that says choose an attacking lightning forward, it gains first strike. So in theory, we can give multiple things first strike, and that's certainly, perhaps cute is the right word for it, but there's a non-zero chance that interaction is going to come up, and it is just great discard fodder for the 4-cost Ramza that I thought it was worth including. So, or if you switch around some cards, you want to play the Heroic Lulu, which again, that is heroic, so that's maybe extending the budget a little bit, but it does let you get multiple activations off that as well. Moving into another 3-drop, we have Gilgamesh. We are playing 3 Morphing Time and 3 Divider Gilgamesh. This combination is just, it's good. Like, Morphing Time has the biggest opportunity to if they have like Odin or something, or if they have a Leviathan, it's going to feel really bad. I get it. It's going to happen from time to time. That's what you get for playing those kind of combo-y interactions. But when you can have one of your guys hit for 2 points of damage, I certainly think it's worth including. And just for how good Divider Gilgamesh is as well, it's something to consider. Moving into one of the Dragoons that we play, 3-drop Haste Dragoon, 5k. Again, just having the opportunity to have haste, and you'll see that we play Red Mage to give other stuff haste as well. It's always nice to have the option to surprise their opponent with damage, so they can be, at 5 or 6 and say, okay, even if they play an Odin or they play one more attack, I should be okay. And then if you have those turns where you're just like Dragoon Lightning and you remove their blocker and now suddenly you have 2 more attackers, it can really hurt your opponent into thinking they're safe, and unless they hit an EX burst, they're just dead that turn. So I am absolutely in love with the natural Haste Dragoon. And I honestly did think about including the First Strike one as well. I just didn't get the opportunity to. Then we have Ramza. So she gains plus 1,000. Sorry, I will not make that mistake the 3rd time. I keep making that mistake. I apologize. Ramza is a he. Ramza gains plus 1,000 for each backup. And then Shout is kind of interesting. Now it does. I wish it was just the special cost. I think it would be a lot better of an effect. I'd feel a lot better doing it. But that one extra lightning crystal point has made quite a big of a difference, I've noticed. But until end of turn, he gains plus 2,000 power, haste, and first strike. So again, this is one of those cases where you have another surprise attacker. It's getting a huge power boost, and it's getting first strike. So let's assume your opponent is even thinking like, all right, sure, it's a 7k, I can block it. Then it's like, oh wait, if they activate the special, now it's a 9k with first strike. And unless they have some miracle other 9k and they also have Maria or something else that gives it 1,000, they're going to lose whatever they're blocking with. So that gives you on the next turn that says, hey man, I still have this 7k, maybe it's an 8k if I play another backup. And if you don't have a blocker, it's just going to keep chumping away at your opponent's forwards. So it's a very, very interesting card that I haven't had a lot of room for lately in other decks, but I think it's certainly worth trying out when you can fit some more Ramzas in the deck for this special ability. Now I realize I misspoke. I forgot Divider Gilgamesh is also a starter card, so I apologize. There are 5 starter-based cards in this deck, and I know it's difficult to get some of those. Cool Stuff Inc. also had some in stock the last time I looked, and I mean they had like 20 of them in stock. So it should be a little bit easier to get, but I do apologize. I realize this can be one of the more difficult cards to get. But Divider Gilgamesh, if you saw any of our other videos, we've done a couple different videos with him. The Divider effect, you get to 4 damage very easily, and it seems, unless the game is going very one-sided, you get to 4 damage, and then it's a very give and take. There's a lot of wars of attrition that are being played, so having the ability to say, all right, well, I have 5 more Gilgamesh in my deck, and I play 3 Sage, I'm just going to keep removing your guys because you got me to 4 damage. So then, in some instances, it can even put your opponent saying, okay, I'm going to hold them off at 3 damage and wait for the turn. I can maybe hit 2 or 3 attacks in a row. And that's a perfectly okay spot to be in because we play Odin, we play Kate Sith, we play Lightning, we play all these cards. Seymour is another card, maybe conditional, but it's still the same principle. We play all these cards to get rid of their stuff. So we are okay with slowing down the game, building up this board state and saying, oh yeah, let's go. Let's remove 3 of your things in 1 turn, and now we're going to hit you for 4 damage when you thought you were safe. So Divider Gilgamesh, again, in combination with Mighty Morphin Time, because they're both great, can really play a lot of mind games with your opponent. 4-drop Lightning, again, this one really doesn't need much to be said about it. Haste, dulls something when it comes into play. Solid card. I can't imagine playing a Lightning deck that doesn't have 2 or 3 of this card. I just control, tempo, straight aggro, fire lightning, ice light. Like, I want this card in every single deck. Now, I think this rare is going for like $3, so it's higher than some hero cards that aren't seeing play, but it is that good. So I would very strongly recommend playing 3 if you can. Moving into our hero cards, the top end of our budget, we play 2 Exdeath. He's just a 9k beater. I mean, and you'll see later we play Lulu, who makes him a 10k. He's going to be just bashing through whatever your opponent is playing. And the best feeling is if they hit like a Leviathan or something like that off the top with Exdeath, you're like, no, you don't get that effect. he is staying in field and you don't get to remove him for free. So yes, he costs 5. He is a little bit more expensive, but he sticks on the battlefield. Now again, I could just still play it otherwise, and sure, there are other things. He dies to Alexander. Those are all valid concerns, but this deck did need something at that higher end that can be a 10K and just, you know, absolutely beat face if needed. And then lastly, the main Dragoon himself, Kane. This is a card that I love and hate. There's a lot of things that this card can do, and it probably needs its whole other video to go with all the cards that go with it. But long story short, the negative 5,000 power not only gets around a lot of things, but can help push combat in your favor. And you'll see we'll play stuff like Rom as well, where we can... There's a lot of little interesting tricks in the deck where we can shrink something by 5,000 and then hit it with another 5,000 for Rom to kill, you know, every forward in the game unless they have some kind of response to it. You can attack with something like the Kate Sith, which is a 2,000, then play Kane and kill something because it has 2 damage marked, drops 5k, loses defense, what have you. So that's something you can do. Magus play is another option that you can do. It's an expensive card, and the special, again, we just want to be able to kill stuff, and not being able to activate during its next during your next turn certainly hurts a little bit, but it's really good on defense when we can make it a 9k. And again, you can discard extra copies. So as I was going through the hero cards, I really felt like this is okay to include, and I'm fairly certain that it's still pretty cheap. So it's worth checking out and worth seeing how you like playing it. It is certainly a lot better in some decks than others, but play around with it a little bit and let us know what you guys think in the comments below about that card and how good it's been for you. Going to our summons, we play 2 Rom. I was going to make this card a 1-of because it has to be active, which, okay, again, because you can play it at any time, and there's easy ways to get around the active requirement, but it only deals 5,000, so you almost always have to combo this card with something else. Now, again, if you attack the Kate Sith, that's 7,000 potential damage. There's a lot of little things you can do, so I thought it was okay to include as a 2-of. And also you can be very cheeky with an EX burst and kill something they might have not expected. That you chump blocked a different card earlier. There's a lot of little things you can do with it. I don't feel that it's a 3-of. If we get into some super hyper aggressive meta that everyone's playing, you know, sub 5,000 drops, then sure, play, you know, 3 Roms, 3 Ifrits, and 3 Shivas. One cost Shiva, obviously. But until then, I could feel this card being a 1-of, and I included a 2-of because honestly I had a 49th card and I put in a 50th. And it was that. So then finishing off our summons, again, no real discussion needs to be had here. 4 cost Odin, break 4 or less, insanely good. Should go in every lightning deck as a 4-of. And then I know people are split against this and they don't agree with me, but 7 cost Odin, it's an EX burst, it can kill something for free. A 3 of it goes in every single lightning deck, no questions asked. It's just an absurdly good card. And then we're going to wrap it up with some backups. So I've already talked about this one a little bit. 2 of Maki, which I believe is how I pronounce it. Choose an attacking lightning forward. It gains first strike until end of turn. Again, just really, really good to give your forwards combat advantage. Black Mage, 2 and banish itself, or sacrifice itself. Choose 1 damage forward and break it. So again, this is a card that I want to include because the effect can be strong. But if your opponent is playing water, please, for how tight this backup line is, and because we don't have ways to banish other backups, don't play it. Just get rid of it. Discard it for a different backup. Because if they play a Minwu and this sits on your field, you're going to feel really, really bad about it. This deck has a very tight backup line to where we get to 5 and we go, oh no, we're stuck. So we wanted another 2-drop because I strongly, strongly believe every deck should play 6 2-drop backups just for mulligan reasons, and we can get into that in another video. And I felt that this was one of those choices where it was good enough to include, but you have to be very, very conscious about what your matchups are and what you might expect out of your opponent. And the last 2 costs that we play is Red Mage, choose a forward, give it haste until end of turn. Again, making surprise attackers is just really, really strong and can trick your opponent. Now again, they're probably going to be thinking about it or trying to play around that card, and that's fair, but it also always puts your opponent on the back foot. Lulu, lightning forward to control, get plus 1,000 power. Again, if you're playing a monocolor deck, there is one of these cards in every single color, and you should be playing it to a. It is so good to give 1,000 power that this is an auto included all the monocolor decks. And even if you build, let's say, a fire water deck and you're using water for strictly support and you only have fire forwards, then you better include the plus 1,000 to fire forwards, because it is literally that good and that important. So please, I strongly urge you to include 2 of that card as well. 2 Magus comes into play. Choose a forward, deal it 5,000 damage. Again, it can be played after combat to do some tricksy hobbitsy things. Just very good card. 2 of Seymour, choose a forward of cost 3 or less and break it. Again, I wish this deck had a way to recycle our backups, because I would love to jam 3 of this card in this deck, but unless we have a way to back our own breakups, we run the risk of not being able to remove them. So if you're playing the 5-cost Lulu, you know, banish the backup, deal 5,000 damage or something, sorry, sacrifice, it can certainly give you the option to play 3 then, but because we can only play 1 of these and the second just becomes discard fodder, or the third one becomes discard fodder after you play the first one, and maybe they destroyed it or what have you, second and third are usually dead. So if you play the first Seymour, the rest of them you draw are not good, so you only want to see this once in a game, and that's why you run 2. And then lastly, we have Sage. This card is just, I mean, it's one of the reasons that I absolutely love Lightning as an element, because you get to keep bringing back your specials, and you get to just have so much value by being able to pull something back. And again, it does count as a 2-drop if you want to be really cheeky about it, but that's not how you should be using your resources, and that's definitely not the way to be using Sage in this deck. You want to pull it back, you pull back Kanes, you want to pull back Gilgameshes, you want to pull back Ramzas, you want to pull back those cards that are going to give you value or do something for you. And there have been games where I have pulled back a Kate Sith, and it can win you the game, surprisingly. So there's some very cheeky things that it can be doing, and it's worth thinking about how it's going to change your strategy. And again, this is one of those cards where, depending on how the game goes, you might only get 1 or 2 cards back with it, so the third one's dead. But I strongly feel that the effect is just so good, you have to run 3. The card just does so much for the deck, and for every Lightning deck that it's in, that 3 is an absolute great number for it. So that's all we have for this video, guys. Sorry it went a little bit long. This is going to be our budget brew. Again, we will be doing more of these in the future. So let us know in the comments below what deck you want to see next, the budget version. And again, I'm sorry for including starters. I think the new rule going forward is going to be 6 or less hero cards and 6 or less starters. I think that should be like a good spot, because if you find the right pieces, or maybe if you go on eBay, you can still get those starters for pretty cheap, or the starter cards specifically, so you don't have to go hunting around for a whole starter deck. So let me know what you guys think budget is, and I'll try to build decks around that. But thank you very much for watching, guys. Again, please like, comment, share the video, get the word out there. It helps us out a ton, and it keeps us doing this for you guys. We love this card game and really, really want it to do well. So let us know what you think. Again, whatever deck you guys put in the comments, we'll do next, and we're happy to check out for you. But until then, we'll catch you on the next 6 Sages Gaming Deck Spotlight. Have a good one.